So I'm all ready to start coping sawing. Now I have a tool here with the coping saw that is designed for cutting curves, but there's a limit to what it can do. And I'm going to show you a straight cut first because it's important that you understand one or two things about cutting straight before you start cutting a curve. You'll notice I'm holding the saw in two hands like that, and I'm going to hold it in the centre of my body. Then I'm going to stand with my feet square on, okay? I'm not tilted to the side or leaning over. I'm standing with my feet square on. And I'm going to start the cut just gently, right at one end. And I'm going to use the whole length of the blade because we want to use every single one of those teeth. They're all there for us to cut with. I don't just want to cut with a small part. And so as I move the blade backwards and forwards, I'm making an effort to keep my nose in line with the end of the blade. And what you might find happens if you start to lean around, have a look at what you do, your blade is going to go off. Now that may cut in the right place at the front of your work, but at the back of your work, especially if it's wide, it's not going to be accurate enough. So you must try to cut it level in terms of left and right. Now if you want to turn a corner, you can't just bend the saw around. If you do that, you're putting pressure on the blade and the blade will break. But you can bend the saw around slowly as you cut. Now I want to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to bend down nice and level here, using the whole length of the blade, and you should see it just slowly start to turn. And I might decide that I want to cut all the way back out, but I've got a problem. This is in the way. And the saw is designed so that by supporting the pin and taking the tension off, we can undo the handle, keep the blade in one place by putting your thumbs on both of the pins, and wind that frame up out of the way. Now it's really important when you do this back up that you check that your two pins are exactly in a line with each other. They must be in a line with each other. And often when you try to do the handle up, the one, this little pin nearest the handle will try to sneak around. So I like to put my thumb on it to not let it move because I've set it where I want it to be in line with its friend. Now if you start sawing with these two pins off on an angle like that, the blade is going to break. You can't use it twisted and expect it not to break. But I can just carry on my cut where I was. Nice and long, you'll see there that it just jammed for a fraction of a second. If you find it jamming, you're probably putting a little bit too much pressure on it. This saw will cut with very little tension on it like that. Okay, if you're pushing, it's going to jam. It's going to be more likely to jam. And you can see that I can cut really quite a tight curve here. Just before my pins start hitting the desk, I'm going to work my way up. And I'm doing nice long strokes. So I'm not sort of like this. Okay, small little strokes. And the cut that I have there is a good fine cut. I don't have too much sanding for myself to do. Sometimes these blades break. If the blade breaks, you need to replace it in the same way as we set it up. However, it will have broken whilst there was tension on the blade. So before you can get it to reach in those two pins, you'll need to unwind the handle before you go ahead and load yourself a new blade. If you twist the blade, it will break. If you put too much weight and pressure on the blade, it will jam as you cut and it will break. If you saw in short, fast, quick strokes like this, you will heat up one part of the blade and it will break. Okay, so we want to see you sawing nice and gently and good, long, slow strokes, making sure that the pins are in a line. Now, if you get halfway and for some reason you have to stop, maybe the bell goes or you need to come and look at something, we don't ever leave the saw sitting like that. Someone can walk into it. What you want to do is wiggle it back out. And you can wiggle it back out, but you need to do that gently, paying attention to where the blade is in relation to the hole. If you're wiggling it out and you're just trying to pull it really quickly, it's likely to break.